Hello, and welcome, friends. If you like flipping sports cards, you're going to really enjoy flipping vinyl records as well. One, they're cheap to source. You can get them at garage sales, estate sales, locally on sites like OfferUp or Craigslist, whatever's popular in your area. And I don't know about you guys, but we roll up to a garage sale like it was a Boys in the Hood drive-by. Got the windows, just clip that tinted window down. Yo, you see anything? You see anything? You see them? Nothing we were interested in? Boom, get out of here! But there's a big disparity between the buyers and the sellers in the vinyl record market. You got sellers who just don't need them anymore, aren't interested. It was somebody else's collection. They found them in a basement, and they only want a couple of dollars a piece. Most of the time, you're going to be able to pick these up for $2 or less. And if you buy in bulk, you can even get them at 50 cents or a quarter, whatever. And we've bought up to 10,000 at one time. And that's disparity between the buyers, who are people who are sipping wine, and they want that nice $25 to $30 record. So that's going to lead you to a high ROI. You can oftentimes get a 1,500% ROI. You can get so many records for $1 that will sell for $20 on eBay. After fees, shipping, and everything else, it's going to leave you with about $14, $15, somewhere around there. You know, you get the record mailers for 50 cents. You exploit that $2.80 shipping most of the time. It's fast, it's easy. The one bad thing about it is that condition really matters, because if you can't play the record, then you can't listen to it. If it's in bad condition, you're just going to get roasted, and people are, they're not going to be happy with that. So you have to learn how to grade records correctly. It's not the same thing as grading cards, but it's not bad. If you're good at grading cards, or if you have an idea from all this PSA, do I send it in or not, then you're already going to have a leg up. You'll have a better idea, and you'll get that a lot faster than somebody with no information at all. Discogs will be a great resource. It's DISCOGS.com, discogs.com. They have, basically it's a database full of everything that you could possibly imagine record-wise, and you will end up looking up a lot of information on that site, and they're just going to be an invaluable resource to you. So let's take a look at some records and see what we're talking about. So the way that modern records work, people have them in stores and they try to get you to buy them because they're different colors or whatever else. So for instance, here is a copy of Kiss Destroyer, but it's the resurrected version, and you can see it's a Walmart exclusive vinyl. Let me get you. Anyway, yeah, it's a Walmart exclusive, costs $22.97, and it's still sealed. I just picked this up because I thought that long-term this might be a good hold, but there's a difference between exclusive and limited edition. I would rather pick up more limited edition stuff for the long term as a collectible or an investment than something like exclusive, because you know that this is still going to be printed in every single Walmart across America, infinite. So that's probably going to greatly outweigh the number of people that are going to be interested long term, but at the same time, I keep stuff like that sealed, so you never know. Here's another example, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. This is a new pressing, and it is a pink. It's like a bootleg UK pressing or something like that. These things still go for like good money, $30, $40, but you can see that nice pink look. So that's how, it's like art too. You get that nice turntable. They get like a nice glow, nice setup. People they really get into this stuff, and other than listening to Spotify or something, it really is the best way to listen to music. Vinyl sales have even surpassed CDs, and the thing about that is that CDs became popular, obviously, and they were more accessible, compact, whatever, but the audio quality is worse than vinyl. Vinyl audio quality is strictly better. So as Spotify takes over, people don't need CDs in the car that much. Sure as hell don't need them around the house, because you could just have a vinyl setup, and it's like a connoisseur type of a deal rather than a sewer type of a deal. So this is going to be your bread and butter type of record right here. Blondie, Parallel Lines. This is the kind of record that you can just grab for a couple of bucks at a garage sale. It sells for $15, $18 on eBay, and you're going to make a 1,200% or more profit on your purchase. And you got to check the condition. Make sure that it's not scratched up, and this one's in pretty good shape. You want to look at it in a bright light. I have a desk lamp right here, and I have the lamp that you guys see me using for grading cards, but that lamp is not. It's like a soft, right? It's like a soft lamp. It's like soft. But it's not. That's not the kind of lamp you're trying to groove on. You want something with a hard, harsh light. You want a lamp that's been in prison. But this is the type of guy that'll let you see exactly what's up on that record, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that, because you will get records in all kinds of different condition. Most of the time you're going to find them in good shape, but sometimes they're going to be destroyed. And you can still, like I said, people will still buy them for art or whatever else. So as I buy collections, I end up with good records that are in rough condition, just end up taking a batch and sending them through a local auction, something like that. So don't fret if you get stuff that's too beat up. So that was Blondie. Parallel Lines. That's kind of your bread and butter. Same thing with this. Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits. This is another, grab that for $1 or $2, and then you can sell that for between 12, 18 bucks, somewhere around there. It really depends on the pressing. See, that's the thing about records, is that they were pressed in different areas around the country, or they were pressed in another country, so there's a different edition. Like you have 2012 Prism, and then you might have all those serial numbers and all this other, variations. Same thing with records. They were pressed in different places. There's first pressings, there's reissue pressings, and people want, sometimes, depending on the record, sometimes they don't care. They want that specific pressing, or a rare pressing might be worth more. You can find all that information on Discogs, which is essentially the encyclopedia of this type of stuff. You'll learn all about the record label itself. This is a Columbia, the third eye kind or whatever, mono version rather than a stereo version. And other than that third eye label, they have different labels, different pressings. You'll learn about that. This is Whitney Houston, another one of these you wouldn't necessarily think people are trying to buy, but you could sell this for 12, 13, 15, something like that around there. This one tends to be a little bit more value because it's in shrink wrap and it has the hype stickers. So that's another little cool addition. People always like stuff if it's still in the shrink wrap. They love it with the hype stickers because it just adds that flavor, whether it's on display or whatever. It just, brings a little bit of an art element to it. So you can still get good money for this type of a record. And as far as when you go to Discogs, let's say you guys go out and you decide, all right, I'm going to buy some records. So you go and you just buy some records, see a Whitney Houston record, you buy it up. This is where you're going to be going right here. You see this little area that looks a little bit different right outside the label? This is called the dead wax. It's hard to, but yeah, you go in the dead wax and there's going to be a bunch of numbers. There's going to be a bunch of things that are kind of etched into the dead wax. You're going to put that information in on Discogs and it's going to tell you exactly what version of that record you have. Now, that's not always something that you need to do if it's something you have experience with. Like, it doesn't really matter if this is first pressing or not. It probably is. It's got the shrink, it's got the stickers, whatever. I'm probably going to get 13 bucks for this any way you look at it. But if this was a rare record, or if it was like a heavy metal from the 70s, classic rock from the 70s is all the rage. That's where all the good stuff is. You just get any random classic rock records, they're usually going to sell for $10 to $15 or more. You get stuff like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, all that can go to 20, 30, 50, 100. I mean, it really does vary. But the dead wax is where you're going to find all the information between that and Discogs to give you the knowledge that you need to get the best price out of that record. You're going to find all kinds of genres. Right here we've got Rick James. I mean, just look how cool that album cover is, man. Busting out a L7. He's just running. He's got some guitars. He's got some hoes with him. You know what I mean? He's got the Warriors text right there. But I'm telling you right now, it's difficult to find funk records in good condition. That's the other thing I love about vinyl, is that when you're testing, you don't have to test all of it, you just do a visual grade, but you're going to listen to a lot of it too because it's cool. And the LP Audio Technica LP 120 is what I have, and it's about a $240 turntable, and that's what I would suggest. Once you get that set up, you're going to listen to all kinds of music that you never even thought about listening to. Dynamic music, whether it was funk or whether it was metal, whatever it was, even instrumental 60s, all kinds of weird shit that you just wouldn't have thought of. And it's a lot better than that whapping ass whatever the hell they're doing these days. It's not music, it's a product. When music becomes a product, whoosh, I mean, there's no value there. It's like when that stevia stuff came out and it was all the rage for the ketos and all this kind of nonsense, and now there's like 800 other ingredients or one other main ingredient, and then they just throw a little tiny bit of it in there so they can manipulate you into buying it, dummy. So yeah, it's very difficult. I don't know if you guys can see all the scratching on this in the light of the sun. Wow, that is the sun, isn't it? I've never seen it before. Man, you will find it a very difficult task to get these in good condition. So that is something you got to be careful of. Don't go running around trying to pay like $5 to $8 for a Rick James record that's all scratched up. Same thing here. The name is Bootsy, baby. We got Bootsy Collins. You know, these are records right here that are going to have to go into a bulk lot because they are in pretty rough shape. But I mean, it's still badass. You know, you got the gatefold right here, which is what that's called. Just all kinds of cool stuff. There's the Parliament. If you guys are into Parliament, Funkadelic, up for the downstroke. This is their first album, and you can tell by the wear on this jacket that this is definitely going to be in rough shape as a record. So this is one that I would not expect. It's on Casablanca Records. You could see all the scratching on there. It's not going to play because the record player is a needle. These are all little grooves around the outside of the vinyl where the music is, and you're not going to get that to work if it's all scratched up. So just be careful with that. Look for records that are in decent shape when you're buying them, but I'm trying to tell you guys right now, it is enjoyable, it's fun, other than lugging them around, and sometimes you'll get them that kind of just stink like a cellar or some old guy's tooth. I mean, as long as he wasn't using the tooth to listen to the record, you should probably be in good shape. Or sometimes you'll encounter missing records like this right here, Speak of the Devil, Ozzy Osbourne. This is one of my favorite Ozzy albums because he's playing a bunch of Black Sabbath songs. And this is a 2-record set. Look at that, nice for the Halloween type jam. That's nice. But this one was missing the second record. So I could still probably sell this in the condition that it's in with this one, because this one's in pretty nice shape, but it's missing that second record. So what are you going to do? You know, I mean, it's that's something you want to be careful of as well. Here's Parliament, Mothership Connection. This is like one of the most iconic funk records. Go check this record out. It's funky. That's what it's supposed to be. But look at him, George Clinton flying out of a flying saucer that kind of looks like a robo nipple. I don't even know. It's weird. It's going to bring me to some investment vinyl. So for you guys out there that don't just want to flip the vinyl, you also want to invest in vinyl. I think that a good investment would be some limited edition color vinyl these days of epic bands and pressings, but be careful because I do think some of it is overdone, and you know, that's not necessarily as awesome as vintage vinyl of epic pressings that is in good condition. That's kind of the key. So this right here is Led Zeppelin's original Led Zeppelin self-titled album. This is 1969, first pressing. It's in pretty good condition, very good plus, I would rate this. And this one right here is one of the earliest pressings from Discogs. So I think stuff like this is definitely good investment vinyl. Something like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, you know, you get an original pressing of some of that. Here's another, this is a reissue, but it's still a made in the UK reissue of Black Sabbath's first album right there. Made in UK, and just kind of show you guys the difference of what I'm talking about here. The label on this specifically, you can see is black label. That's not a first pressing. It is a reissue, but it is still an old vintage 1970s UK pressing. This right here, which I had in a jacket because I don't have the sleeve for it, this is a scratched up Black Sabbath. It's a first pressing of the U.S. pressings, though, but I just keep it even though it's dirty because it's one of my favorite albums of all time and something I grew up with. But yeah, so if you see these old green Warner Brothers labels, whether it's the Grateful Dead or Black Sabbath or Alice Cooper, any of that stuff, those are first pressings, and you can add that to your listing to get a little bit of a bump on occasion. So that's a pretty awesome one. Then, of course, you just can't do vinyl without Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is some of the most epic shit that you're going to find. So this is an original Harvest OG Dark Side of the Moon instead of that pink newer one. So you can see that the wear on this, and again, these are kind of difficult to find in good condition, and even if the vinyl looks a bit beat up, you can have a bit of wear on vinyl. That's the other tip, is that if you feel around the record, even if it's got some scratches, whatever, as long as it doesn't have like a deep gouge in it, and you're probably going to be okay in some cases. It's when it gets excessive, when it looks just really ugly, you just kind of do a little bit of research on the record condition. and what it means for each grade, and you'll just get the feel for it. And then at the very worst, you just test the record out. Like I had a scratched up copy of Blizzard of Oz, but since it's an Ozzy record, and none of it I couldn't feel, but it was kind of ugly looking, I listened to it, it sounded great, it didn't skip on either side, and then I ended up selling it for $18, and that was cool. I ended up paying $1 for it. So, I mean, that is a really good ROI. This Pink Floyd Metal, man, you're just not going to find this record very often, and when you do, it's often going to be in really rough shape. So this is, again, more investment vinyl, original pressings of bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Any of that stuff is going to be investment worthy. There's some other good stuff from the 80s and the 90s as well. 90s vinyl is particularly expensive because that's when the CD rose up and nobody got into vinyl, and vinyl wasn't pressed. So even if you just have like an average, indie rock band like the Lemonheads, which were mildly popular, I really like them. But if you have something like the Lemonheads, the vinyl from that time is going to be expensive. Pearl Jam vinyl, any of it that comes from that time is going to be, in a lot of cases, hundreds of dollars. So, yeah, if you find any good original pressing 90s vinyl, I'm not talking about like a $25 repress from this year, it's going to be expensive. Right here is the Smiths Louder Than Bombs. This was a gold stamp promo copy. So I think stuff like this is also very good as far as investment vinyl goes. Something that's unique like that. It's a promo copy, which means they gave it out to radio stations, DJs, and those copies are generally going to be original pressing. So that's one way you'll know something's an original pressing. And you'll come across gold stamp promos all the time. It just means that they're more likely to be an original pressing than another type of a copy. So all this stuff, it is very, very profitable to get into vinyl. If you have any other questions about it, I would be glad to help you guys. I think that, when you're dealing with any item, whether it's sports cards or vinyl, whatever else, if you're into this stuff, if you enjoy buying and selling in general, you will enjoy getting into other markets. I love sports cards, but there's always going to be a lull. So right now, we've seen the playoffs have, dissipated a little bit. The basketball market has kind of tipped down a bit. And what's next? Are you going to try to hit who the next football player is, who's going to pop off in a game randomly? There's only so many quarterbacks. There's only so many ways that the football guys can really explode. So there's not going to be a lot of day trading. Like we talked about before, be careful with football. It's going to be a mid to long term thing. What's next for basketball? Investing in the future. If everything is related towards investing for next season, getting it graded for next season, what are you going to do now to make money? Chances are you'll be better off if you pick another market that you enjoy. I really like markets that you can exploit the shipping with. If it's a media mail, you can find old heavy metal magazines, old Playboy magazines. You can get them dirt cheap as well, and a lot of the time they're $10, $15 a piece. We're talking about media mail exploitation. It's easy to ship, it's cheap to ship, it's just heavy to lug around. But the profit margin is there, and it's fun, it's enjoyable. Who doesn't want to listen to a bunch of music and look at a bunch of titties? That's what I'm talking about, and you should be listening. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions or anything like that, ask somebody else. I'll catch you on the flip side.